All right, back at it, Athlete Builder. It's round two with Sydney Milani, and we are lucky to have her today. And I'm going to be a big homer. I got my Alabama swag on. My daughter's at Alabama. She's now an athlete, if you can believe it, at Alabama. And now we have an Alabama coach. But she's more than that. She's a lot more than that. She's, man, bang, this girl's awesome. So, Team USA bobsledder, not really her background. No one really has a background in bobsledding, right, for the most part.
No one
And
grows up bobsledding.
no one does that unless you're just, riding the sleds down the hill. But so it's all about speed. So big track athlete, high school, Iowa State, I believe, but then Alabama. Now she's an Alabama strength and conditioning coach, founder of Team Peerless. And I think that's the swag she has on today.
Yes,
It's a
sir.
five. There it is, a 501 that she put together to help out Olympic hopefuls, because not every country is the same. There isn't always the same playing field everywhere financially, and so she's helping out with that. And she's also a Navy SEAL, a Foundation official teammate, so had some experience working with those operators as well. And so, Sydney, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Jim. I appreciate it.
Where are you at now? You're not in snowy weather, right? You're down south.
Yep, I'm down south in Alabama. I'm gearing up to go to Park City in November to start off our season.
Park City, Utah, home of a prior Olympics. So, whom do you coach right now?
Right now, it's more of an unofficial role. But I train with my coaches whom I was with when I ran track here at Alabama, and so I coach under my coaches. It's kind of like our trade-off. Most professional athletes have to pay for their facilities and their coaches, but I have a really good relationship with my coaches, and I interned under them when I was in school, so now I'm an unofficial strength coach here at Alabama.
Nice.
Mhm.
So my daughter, who's on the rowing team, she's pretty excited, and she took pictures of all her swag that she got this week, and it kind of like filled up almost her entire dorm room. It was so many articles, and then she took pictures and videos. Says since I run a gym, the some of the Alabama facilities and the dining hall, like
Mhm.
what an awesome set of resources. So I can see why you'd want to stick around there. Before we get too far along, I want to play this game. You probably heard that, who would you rather or what would you rather?
Okay.
So, what would you rather do? Would you rather win a title in the 100 or the 200?
Probably, I mean, I guess the 100.
How come?
I don't know. I think both of them are equally as spectacular, but I guess the 100 is just, you know, technique. It's all about your start and it's just raw speed. And that's what track is. That's what attracts people to track and field is that raw speed.
And they say if you win the 100, you're then the fastest person in the world, right? That's kind of the deal.
Yeah. hmm
All right. How about the 4 or the 800? Would you rather win the title in the 4 or the 8?
I've ran both. Both are such difficult events. I would say I'd rather win in the 400, though.
Is it because it's shorter?
I think both of them have things that make one harder over the other in different ways, but the 400 is like when you get into the 800, that's when it starts breaking into like the endurance field, and I'm just a speed athlete. I prefer speed.
Gotcha, gotcha. I don't know anyone that runs the 400 and doesn't come back with the statement that it's simply painful. You're holding that threshold, that high end threshold for a long time.
hmm
Whereas in a 100, like in theory, you can run it without even breathing, right? You can hold your breath for 10 seconds. No one does that, but
Theoretically, yeah.
theoretically, right? In the pain threshold, you hit that max speed, but you don't hold it as long.
hmm
I remember people run the 400, they're broken afterwards. What's cool about Sydney, and I didn't put this in the intro, but if you look her history up, senior year in high school, sets the state record in the 100, the 200, the 400, and then decides to win the 8 as well. Prior year, she wins the team events, the four bys. So I'm sure you've had people say it before. When you have a title, it just follows you the rest of your life. So it's pretty cool. But setting state records. So I started off with those just because she'd done them before. So between the 100 and the 400, the two that you picked,
The
is the
four,
100. You'd rather win the four.
yeah, for sure.
Wow. The painful race.
Yes, I mean that. I think that's what makes it spectacular is the pain. Like anyone with God's gifts can go out and run a fast 100, but you have to be tough to run the four.
You do. It's
Hmm.
about that holding that threshold. So running in the Olympics, that's a summer sport. Bobsleds in the winter.
Yep.
Would you rather win gold in the winter or the summer?
If you asked me when I ran track, definitely the summer.
Sure.
Um, but now that I've actually gotten to do both sports in both seasons, I would say winter, which is an
Come
unpopular
on.
opinion. I know, but winter sports are gritty. You have to be so tough to compete in those conditions, and I respect that. So definitely winter.
You know, they are team events, the track team and cross country team, but still it's a big individual component.
Hmm.
Would you rather coach a team to a title or be part of a team title?
Uh, I mean, that's tough. I think I would rather be part of it. Um, I mean, you're part of it in either role, but I think getting to actually like experience it and put up the points yourself is a really good experience. I would say that.
Being the athlete, you got to be all in on yourself and your training. And so many people have to help support, the teammates that are on the field or not on the field, right? As the coach, you're just so selflessly giving to those athletes to push, get them, coach them, get them better, teach them. And so they're completely different roles, even though looking for the same thing. So I know you coach people,
Hmm.
but you're also an athlete.
Hmm.
At this stage in this season of your life, what would you say your calling is?
Um, in this current season of my life, definitely being an athlete. I love being a coach and I see myself being a coach down the road. But I'm doing both right now, and I'm definitely more lit with actually participating in sports than I am coaching at the moment.
Gotcha. And from the college level, she was amazing there too. All American, team captain, all SEC, top tens. So were you at nationals in Oregon?
I was, yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So a lot of times my wife and I will play these, hypothetical games of where we want to go and things we want to do. And having six kids makes things interesting. And so I asked her at just this week, what's what's the next one sporting event? You could pick one sporting event to go to. What would you want to go see? And she said, Collegiate Nationals out in Oregon. Because you see so many different kinds of athletes
Mm-hmm.
and you can see their strength, their power, and their speed all on display. So, and she wanted to go out there. I said, Rugby World Cup. I thought, but this man, the amount of weeks it spans, it's a big commitment to go watch that.
Hmm.
Either way, so if you were to go watch a sporting event and not participate, not coach, what's something you'd like to see?
Um, Soccer probably.
Really, World Cup for that?
Yep. Soccer was my first love in sports, and so I can relate to it pretty easily.
Gotcha. The fan bases are amazingly passionate, right? Where some people are even being shot over some of these games.
Yeah.
But when the World Cup rolls around, the entire world is taking notice. And some people say in soccer, winning the World Cup is as much as important as winning the Olympic medal in soccer. So that is quite the big deal. So one of the questions I ask, and I ask all my guests a whole bunch of stuff, so it makes my job easy because life's about me. And I asked why are we doing these things? And you wrote first and foremost for God and for country.
Hmm. Yes, that's the
That's
primary why for sure. Yeah, I mean, God gave me gifts, and it's my job to glorify Him by using them. And then, I'm a proud American, and I love Team USA. So, competing for this country is in itself very motivating.
were you having athletic successes early on and for a while?
Yeah, I started playing sports when I was 3 or 4, and I would say early on it was obvious that I was athletic. My dad was my coach growing up, and as I got older and transitioning into high school, there were certain things that set me apart. And yeah, I played soccer most of my life, but then track kind of stole me away when I started getting good there, and we just took it from there.
One of the things I say that separates all athletes is at some point some athletes quit and some don't. And people say, well, that's not true. There's plenty of pros. And I said, well, sure, but some pros are going to be better. And it's based on when they quit. And they asked me, well, what does that mean when they quit? They're playing the same time. I said, well, for me, if you're working on your nutrition and you have to meal prep or drink this much water or have all these supplements, at some point, some athlete says, I'm good enough. I don't need to do anything else. Whereas someone keeps going. Or if the training is the same and everyone's lifting together, well, some are going to quit and go home when the training's done, and some are going to stick around and keep getting stronger or faster or work on rough spots or their mindset or recovery, etc. Someone does more. And I find also, on average, not always, athletes that do well at an early age don't know how to hold on and be uncomfortable longer. Things come easy to them. Once they stop coming easy, those athletes kind of plateau and they can't break through.
Hmm.
And it sounds like for you, you started off doing pretty decently, but then what you like to do is separate yourself by being able to suffer longer and do harder things longer. How did that, was that nature or was that nurture? How did that get, was it your dad beating it into you? Was you guys together? I mean, I just woke this way and I'm just set my jaw every morning. I'm going to just work my ass off all day. Like, how did that come about for you? Tell us that story.
I think it was both nature and nurture. I the way I like to explain it is my favorite movie is Good Will Hunting. And
Okay.
in the movie, someone asks him, like, how are you so smart? Like, how do you do it? And then he goes, like, you know how Beethoven just like went up to the piano when he was young and just started playing? Like
Mm.
he could just do it. Like that's how I do it. And so when I was young, like that's how I like to explain it. It's like I just that was my music. Like I just went up to a soccer ball or I'd race people on the playground and that was just my music. Like I could just do it. Um but then, my dad and I had a really good relationship. He was my coach. I was born and raised on a farm in Iowa, so we got them tough farm roots. And he was a very big influence in my life and like you said, kind of beat it into me that you got to stay resilient. And of course I wanted to be just like him and my dad was an athlete and I always wanted to impress him and be like him. So, yeah, you just never give up, and it's a combination of that nurture and nature.
I think if you see someone having to get up early and work on the farm and stay late, see someone in bad elements, like sometimes it's cold and windy
Mhm.
in Iowa, right?
Yep.
And that's the way it is, and you still push.
Mhm.
And then if you start indoctrinating your kids into something like that, and not for nothing, just carrying things at a young age is an outstanding way to build just the raw farm boy strength.
Mhm.
And if you have that, you can build the barbell strength, blah blah blah, and then speed and power are a function of strength, right? And the physics that go along with it. So having those things really kind of set you up. I'm looking for a correlation and causation and results in people, and I'm looking up Navy SEALs and how they get through Hell Week. And is it the ones that were the good runners that did well, or the ones that were good wrestlers, or lacrosse, or swimmers? Because swimming is a big component. And they found some of those had some correlation, but the one that had the biggest was the one who could run the 4 mile timed runs in the fastest time. Because 4 miles, like the 400, it's not just 1 mile, 6 minutes. They're running four, so you're holding that threshold.
Mhm.
So when you hold that threshold for a long time, better than other folks, you're less likely to quit because everybody else has quit sooner, you know?
Yeah.
When your dad's coaching you, sometimes it's the kid's like, hey, dad, I got it. I'm tired of, because you see him at home, he's probably coaching you a little bit. You're in the car to and from, he's coaching you a little bit. Then you're on the field and he's coaching you. How'd you guys like that? I got kids, I coach them, and sometimes they're like, hey, dad, shut the hell up. I'm tired of listening to you.
Mhm.
How'd that go back and forth for you guys?
Um, I have 4 other sisters, and so, that was just kind of how my dad and I bonded. I never really felt There was never a time in my life where I can remember feeling overwhelmed by his coaching, but I also think he did a really good job, um, by one, like setting the example himself. Like he was always eating healthy, always working on the farm. He was a firefighter also. Um, always in the gym working out, and so it was easy for me to follow his direction because, like, there was merit there because he did it all the time, you know? So, it was never difficult to receive things like that because I saw how fit he was and how strong he was and successful he was, and I was like, "Oh, I wanna be like that." Like, everything you're saying makes sense to me. So, it was never overwhelming for me, and plus that's how we bonded, so it was
Gotcha.
easily received.
What about the other sisters? Were they athletes too?
We basically made up half the soccer team. We were all on a soccer team together at one
Dang.
point. But yeah, they were athletes growing up and, being on a farm, we were always out in the woods or driving the quads, and I contribute those experiences a lot to my athleticism as well because, we were moving in different planes, we were always racing, wrestling. My dad was a wrestler, so naturally there was living room fights all the time. So, yeah, those experiences definitely made me more athletic without even knowing.
Where are you in the order?
I'm second oldest.
Second oldest.
Mhm.
Gotcha. All girls.
Yeah, my poor dad.
So we have four girls and two boys. Two girls with the same name, if you can believe it. Because
Wow.
we're remarried and we each had a Maddie. So
Mhm.
my Maddie's at Alabama. Her Maddie's at Butler right now.
Nice.
How do we transition from Iowa State to Alabama? Now it's really easy with the portal, and
Mhm,
I don't know if that was the case just a few years ago, even for you.
mhm.
So what led to, hey, I'm gonna look at some different options. Then you ended up in the SEC of all places. So what happened
Yeah.
there?
I was recruited for the heptathlon at Iowa State by Dan Steele, and I loved that guy. He was a great coach. He did a home visit for me. Unfortunately, he suffered a stroke, and he's fine now, but he decided to spend more time with family. So I was moved to a different coach, and then he switched schools. So then I was moved to another coach. And
Dang.
I'm pretty like in my mind at the time, I was like I'm just gonna work super hard. Like a coach doesn't matter that much. Like that's what I said back then.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
but there was, a difference in coaching philosophies for sure between him and I. We never really, like, didn't get along. I thought he was a great person, but I just knew if I stayed there, I wouldn't accomplish everything I wanted to. So, I went on the transfer portal and was picked up almost immediately by Alabama, and thank God, because that was the greatest decision I ever made.
How was it moving down south and coming down to this whole different lifestyle, man? It's warm down there all the time. Iowa not so much. And then I haven't been to Iowa in forever, but I've been to Alabama a few times. That campus is beautiful.
Mm.
How was the transition?
It was both difficult and easy. It was my first time being away from my family, my dad, all my sisters, and on that scale, it was really hard. But it was super easy because Coach Wiley ended up being like a huge father figure to me. I met my best friends here, and it made me a successful athlete. So on that scale, it was an easy transition.
Awesome. Awesome. Running the one and the two, playing soccer. Soccer's a lot of endurance, man. You're not going top end speed, but it's these short little bursts. To now we're transitioning out of college and to pushing a big tank down the ice, right? In the bobsled. And I see that you have the setups, it is really just the raw physics, force equals mass times acceleration, right?
Mhm,
And you're going as fast as you can in a straight line with this obstacle, with this weight in front of you, and how much force can you generate?
mhm.
So different kind of athlete, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Talk about having to gain a little weight for the new role
Yeah.
and the bloat maxing approach that I think you're famous for.
Yeah. The bloat maxing that Jim is referring to is one time we were at the Olympic Training Center, and I was with a couple of my favorite male teammates, and I had to gain so much weight. I gained 20 pounds in a year, 30 pounds throughout the entire quad. That's what we call the 4 years leading up to the Olympics is a quad. And I was very uncomfortable in my body. Like it was by design, and I worked really hard for the weight that I gained for the sport, but I just did not feel good. So a way that I coped with it is I always called myself fat. Like I always joked that I was fat. And so I was doing that, and one of my teammates was like, Sydney, I don't like when you call yourself fat. Like this is how the sport is. Like you're beautiful. Like just don't do that anymore. And I was like, but it's how I cope. Like I like to joke with myself, you know? And he goes, all right. We'll just say you're bloat maxing. So that's just
Right?
what it became. And we use that phrase for everything now. Like every time we're in the weight room, we're lift maxing. When we're in the recovery room, we're recovery maxing. Like,
Nice.
hey, where's Karsten? Oh, he's walk maxing. Like we
Right? Just add
use
that piece on there.
yeah, so I don't know. It's just a funny inside joke now. But yeah, gaining that weight was tough. It was so tough. I'm naturally pretty lean. I'm definitely on the shorter side for bobsled as well. I'm 5'4", and I think my next shortest teammate is 5'7", probably. So I had to work really hard to get up to weight, and they wanted me to gain that weight because in bobsled there's a weight maximum, and you want to get as close to that weight maximum as possible so you can go down the hill faster. And if that weight isn't on the athletes, you have to put it in the sled. And if you're pushing a heavier sled compared to the rest of the field, then you're going to push a slower start time. And that just compounds down the track, and you're going to be behind from the get-go. So they encourage all of us to gain weight. And in my case, I had to gain a lot of weight. And it was hard. I counted every calorie, every macro, every ounce of water, everything for an entire 4 years. And it was by far the hardest part about transitioning sports. It wasn't even it wasn't the fear factor for me because bobsled is dangerous, it's very scary. It wasn't learning a new discipline, none of that. It was gaining the weight. That was the toughest for me.
Gotcha. I tell a lot of athletes that the hardest part typically of them advancing for most will be the food.
Mhm.
And I have these kids like they're in high school, and so it's not even the same animal, but I have a basketball kid who's 6'1" and he could dunk, right?
Mhm.
But he weighs 139.
Right.
I'm like, bro, you weigh 139, man. Just you might dunk on me once, but the second time you come into the lane, I'm just gonna I'm gonna put you down, and you won't be able to play the rest of the game. Like you got to be able to have the size for what the sport demands, right?
Yeah.
And Jack, my son plays for Ball State football, and he left high school at 207, and I'm like, and I was telling you, hey, buddy, you need to gain weight. He goes, yeah, I know. I said, well, let's pull up Ball State's starting roster and see what the linebackers weigh at.
Mhm.
And just if you don't believe me, and I'm showing him 227, 235, 248, like looks like the average here is around 230, buddy.
Mhm.
And so people really struggle because I'll hear from parents or these kids, hey, I'm eating a lot. I'm eating a lot. I go, I'm sure you are,
Yeah.
but this is still the math. So yeah, you're eating a lot, and it turns out what we're putting in isn't enough.
Mhm.
So I have some questions that, having daughters and coaching women, when they come into the gym, they'll say, hey, I don't want to get bulky. I don't like that. You guys are just smashed into your head that there's a thinner look that's leaner but not very muscular, and that's how women are supposed to look. So I've had pro athletes on here, and they're like so uncomfortable that they have to be stronger looking, but they're pros. You're trying to do pro things.
Mhm.
All right. Was it, if I can ask, was it the scale? Was it the number on the scale that mortified you or you didn't like? Was it the way your clothes felt? Was it the way your body looked? Was it that your body fat went from 12% to 16%? Like, give us some perspective on what was challenging about that for you.
I would say for me personally, like I said, I'm very lean naturally. And so in order to gain weight, I had to eat a lot. When I first started gaining weight in my first year of bobsled, my dietitian put me on 3,000 calories a day. And when I started, I was like, holy crap, that's a lot. And now I'm
Not really.
doing that to lose weight. That is nothing. And as I got more used to the volume of food, towards the end, right before the Olympic trials, I was eating 5,400 calories a day.
Okay.
And I was eating more than a lot of my male teammates on the bobsled team, and, they have to gain weight too. And so I just think that's a testament to my, metabolism, my genetics, and just the fact that I'm just naturally lean. So there is a genetic component to everyone as well. But the volume of food that I had to eat was making me break out in hives every night. Like, every night I would go to sleep, my face would be swollen, I'd have red spots all over me. It was brutal.
Mm.
I had to eat 6 different meals a day, and it just seemed like every time I was done eating, I had to start on the next meal. Otherwise, I'd be up until midnight trying to finish all my food, and then I was full all the time during training, so I wanted to puke constantly, but I had to choke it down because if I puked, then I'd lose weight. It was just brutal. There's just no better word to say it. It was brutal.
Michael Phelps would talk about he's taking in over 10,000,
Mhm,
12,000. He's what, 6'6", 6'7", something like that,
mhm.
swimming all those laps. And then he'll be finishing eating crap, eating McDonald's.
Yeah.
Like he just finished putting it in and he dives into the pool like 10 minutes later because
Mhm,
he feels it digesting and how uncomfortable that was.
mhm.
What I tell kids and athletes that if you're constantly full because of the volume, I said now it comes down to how many calories can you get in per bite. If I had to eat something like if you eat a lot of salad,
Mhm.
no,
Oh,
you
no,
get
I did not eat a lot of
there.
salad.
There's no chance. You have to eat an entire wheelbarrow of salad.
Yeah.
Because it's not very calorie dense.
Mhm.
So I said we have to eat more fattening foods. And they're like, if you're really trying to gain weight, there's a dirty component. And the kids are, well, what do I do? I said, go get a pizza, and I'm like, eat as much of it as you can, but pour a bunch of olive oil on top of it first.
Mhm.
And they're
Same
like,
as me.
why? I'm like, there's this fat in the oil calories. It's not really hard to digest. Or put sauces on everything, whether it's mayonnaise, sour cream, and guacamole, queso. So how dirty was the diet? Or are you just trying to be like, well, I'm still trying to eat clean, all, clean vegetables and fruit and meat, but you realizing I need a lot. So did you have a candy bar for goodness sake? Are you allowed to even look at a cookie? Because it makes life a lot easier if you're trying to gain weight if you have a little bit of a dirty component to it. So
Mhm.
some people are like, well, I can't do that. And then it's not just necessarily you were genetically predisposed to having a high calorie burn rate. There's probably some truth to that. But you've been running nonstop since you were 3.
Yeah.
And in the off season, you're out moving things. And then soccer's a nonstop running sport. And then there's track and everything else. So
Mhm.
your body is used to you burning a lot of shit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So then you got to eat a lot, which then leads to going to have to, having a lot of number twos a lot. So, but how dirty did you have to get with the diet?
Um, when I first started gaining weight at the 3K, I was eating really clean. Everything was clean. And even though that was a high volume, like, calorie number for me, it was still manageable to eat clean. But as I worked up, it got more and more difficult. The really hard thing about me having to gain weight before the Olympic trials was we couldn't just gain weight for the sake of the number on the scale. Like, we had to be very strategic about it because when you're accumulating mass, you have to train that mass to be conducive to what you're trying to do. And
Right.
that that takes a long time. Like, that's just science. And so we were trying to build as much muscle and as little fat as possible. And of course, when you're gaining weight, you have to put on fat. Like, there's no way you can do that 100% lean tissue because your body is super smart and you have to facilitate an environment that convinces it to do what you want. And in order to gain weight, you got to gain a little fat. So that was inevitable. But we were trying to what we kind of did for a little while is I would do it kind of dirty and I would gain some fat because when we were trying to do it 100% clean, it was like so difficult because I just couldn't eat that much. And so we would make the diet a little bit dirty That way I accumulated a little bit more fat, and then we'd change my macro ratio to convert fat into muscle. So like our graph was like kind of like this, like as I was
Right.
gaining weight. So it did get pretty dirty, especially towards the 5,400 mark. I was eating ice cream every night, like, which sounds great, and it was at first. I was like, "Wow, I've never had this privilege before. Like, I'm just gonna eat a bunch of ice cream and chocolate. It's great." But then it got to a point where I didn't enjoy anything that I used to, and I was
Sure.
actually avoiding food that I used to like because
Right. It's work.
it was work and it was just ruined for me, and I felt like puking every night. Like, I lost
Hmm.
sleep because I was trying to choke down vomit. So, it
Did you take in casein protein before you went to bed?
yeah, I did it all. I casein protein with the peanut butter, try
Right.
and slow down that
Slow, slow,
digestion.
slow down. Yeah. Right.
Mhm.
I listened to this podcast with Dave Tate, who runs Elite FTS. Do you know who he is?
Dave Tate sounds familiar, but I can't say I've ever watched
Gotcha.
his
So
stuff.
in the strength world, he's, on the Mount Rushmore. He came out of West Side Barbell with Louis Simmons. And so in terms of like building really strong people, but also athletes that don't just lift, like he's outstanding. Like he's on Mount Rushmore. And he has J.M. Blakely on, and J.M. Blakely is like if you ever do have people do J.M. presses, to help build your bench. It's named after him. And he has like, PhDs, but he's also strong meathead, as strong as can be in powerlifting, but super, super smart. These lifters that are trying to squat 1,000, 1,100, but be in certain weight classes. When I listened to his approach on nutrition, and it was similar to I've had some people do. I don't know if this might be helpful or not, but let's say you're at 3,000 calories and you take yourself up to four. So what he wants you to do is for X number of weeks, say it's 8 weeks, you eat dirty, 4,000, 4,500 calories, you put on weight, your numbers go up pretty easily,
Mhm.
right? At that 45,000 calorie mark, you then cut it down to maybe 3,200, 3,400. You're going to lose some strength that you just built,
Mhm.
but not all of it.
Mhm.
And then you lean out, and then you do it again. You go up to 4,500 or 4,700. So you keep cycling up. You keep putting on weight and then taking it off, and it's like 8 weeks up and 8 weeks down, so that you keep leaning out. But as you go up, the strength goes on pretty easily. As you come down, you lose some of it, not all. You go up again, you put on a bunch more strength, then you lose some. So you would have people do that for like a 2 year cycle,
Mhm.
a big macro mesocycle, and then they would keep adding their gains that way, and then stay close to a weight class, and then they could cut if they have to. So that was an approach that was really effective for a lot of people. What weight do they want you to be at on the bobsled?
For me personally, and again, I'm much smaller than all my other teammates. They wanted me to get up to about 160, and I'm
Okay,
naturally a 135. So,
20%.
and at 160, like, even after gaining that 20 pounds in a year and 30 pounds over the span of the quad, I was still the lightest person on the team by, like,
Oh,
15 pounds.
wow,
So, thank God for now, we have very big pilots, and so it evened me out a little bit, and I didn't have to gain any more than that,
sure.
but the
If you
160 was, like, quite honestly very unmanageable. Like, I competed at the trials at about 157, and I will never do that again. I will never gain weight like that again. It was just
okay,
it I did what they asked me to do. I gained the weight so I can never be upset at myself. However, that is probably what ultimately screwed me because I just couldn't train that tissue fast enough to be fast and be twitchy anymore. I was strong as an ox, but bobsled is more than just being strong. You have to be fast too. And that was very obvious in a lot of my other numbers. Like in my 30 meter, we tested 30 meter in our Olympic trial combine. force plates and stuff like that. I couldn't get up to the numbers that I used to be at that weight. So yeah, I was moving the bobsled off the line a little bit better because I was heavier, but once we got down the crest and I was running down the hill, I just wasn't what I used to be because I was carrying so much weight. So I'm never doing
Gotcha.
it again.
This past summer, after our summit, I was invited to help out at a bobsled, skeleton, luge combine.
Mm-mm.
And one of the pre-C schools put it on in St. Louis. So I go out there to help out. My wife and I would drive out there and we're to help with some of the timing and just it was fun. It was fun. They had maybe 8 athletes. So did you have to go to a combine first? I'll tell you about the story here in a second. But did you go to a combine?
No, I did not. I was one of the lucky ones, and I was called straight out of track and field. Like I was still running track at Alabama, and I missed a call because I was at practice from Kurt Tomesevich, which is one of our directors of performance on Team USA, and he was also an Olympian in the 4-man. And I listened to his voicemail and asking me to come to Lake Placid at the Olympic Training Center and come push a bobsled and see if I'm any good at it. And I thought it was a spam call at first. And to be honest, at that point, I was about to graduate. You know, I already had a job lined up. And so in my head, I was like, even if this is real, I'm not doing this. But I ended up calling him back, and I had some important people in my life tell me that my time as an athlete just wasn't over. There was just no way, and they pushed me to do it. So I went straight to the Olympic Training Center and picked it up right away. Versus most people have to do a combine and stuff like that.
So at this combine out in St. Louis, they had about 8 people, and Jen and I are there, and it's open to anybody.
Mhm. Yep.
And they had a wide range.
Mhm.
And Jen and I were watching the people warm up, and we're like, all right, that's an athlete, and that's an athlete, and those other 6, I don't know what they're thinking today, but this is going to be bad, right?
Yeah.
And so there's people 30s, 35, 40, like I'm 50, right? And we're like, oh man. And you see the warm up, they're doing their A skips and high knees, and we're like, oh no, oh no. So they're outside and they have the gates set up, the lasers for timing you with your fly 10 and the splits all the way through your 40 yard dash time. Man, those older guys that went first, every one of them, because you had to run it 3 times. Every one of them, man, pulled up halfway at some point. Hamstring is torn or tweaked or an ankle, and I'm like, oh, bro. And they're the first go round, they're running like a 6'1",
Mhm.
a 6'2", and I'm like, hey, that's good, good job. You're 43. You sit behind a desk, cool, good job.
Yeah.
And then the kid who just graduated Iowa State and he was in track, he was 1 year out, still lean. His setup was outstanding. And you can see it's a short sprint. It's not like the 100, which is longer, but still the shortest. So each step is hard, right? You're trying to exert so much force in the ground before you come all the way up. And you can see him struggling because he's putting so much force in the ground. I'm like, oh, that kid's moving. That kid's moving. And on a laser, this is his first one with no spikes, just regular tennis shoes, out there in the parking lot, incline grade even, and he runs a 4.32, and he backs up with a 4.28, and I was like, okay. So the other folks, they saw those numbers, and they continued. I'm like, bro, you're you're seconds off,
Right.
right? Don't continue. So then we went to the broad jump, and then the vertical jump, and then there was a sled test, and I was like, the kid's jumping 40, 43 vertically, and I'm like, and he said 10 plus, 10 and a half broad jump, and I'm like, everyone else, I'm like, man, just quit hurting yourself, go home. But they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do it. I have down here that, when you race at a high level, you go to the biggest events, and you win state and you go into nationals. But I wrote, or you have written here, getting locked out of the car right before a race on the fastest track in the world.
Yeah.
Girl,
That was
like you
rough.
got you got one job, show up. Get out of the car.
Really rough. So bobsled, it requires a lot of gear. Like we have our sliding suits, our ice spikes, our helmets, all of our tools, because athletes are in charge of maintaining the sleds, fixing the sleds. And so we have all of this crap, and we're walking out the door, and my pilot is like, "Hey, Sydney, do you have the car keys?" And I was like, "No, you have the car keys. I gave them to you last night." And then she goes, "No." And I was like, "Lauren, I swear I gave you the car keys." And our car is automatic unlock. So I was like, "Well, it's in our bags. We know the key is in one of our bags. So let's just go to the car, unlock the car, put all our stuff down and then find it." And so that's what we did. The car unlocked. We put our bags in there, shut the trunk. But then when we shut the trunk, the front door wouldn't open. The key was in the bag in the trunk.
Oh God.
So little did we know, the key has to be in the front seat in order for it to unlock the car. So user error slash
Oh
glitch, we we put the key in the bag, which was in the trunk, and then it locked when we shut the trunk. Couldn't get in the car. So, anyways, this track, Whistler, Canada, is the fastest track in the world, and it's a great track if driven correctly. But there is one curve. Well, there's two curves that I have a not so great relationship with. One curve is called Thunderbird, and if you drive that curve incorrectly, you smack the wall. And me as a brakeman, I sit in the back of the sled, and the back of the sled, slides left and right the most. And so if you smack out of that curve, like you're getting hurt. And the week prior, we kept smacking out of that curve, and I was just beat up. And there's another curve called 50-50, and they call it 50-50 because you have a 50% chance of making it through. And this track is pretty scary, okay? And plus it's the fastest, so if you're crashing, it's gonna hurt just a little bit. Um, and so anyways, our our key is locked in the car. We have to go race though. So we are trying everything. I call the cops. I'm like, "We are professional athletes. We have to get to the top of this mountain in 15 minutes. Like, come unlock our car, please." They were like, "Is there any animals in the car?" And I'm like, "No." And they're like, "Well,
yes.
we can't help unless someone's in trouble." So I was like, "Yes, there's an animal in the
There's
car."
a baby in the back in the trunk of the car suffocating. Right.
Yeah, so they wouldn't come help us. I should have lied right out of the gate, but they wouldn't come help us. It was like 6 in the morning, so there's no locksmiths open yet. Um, I took some of the pliers out of our toolbox and I cut like a wire fence, and I was trying to like use this wire fence to like get into the car. It was just a mess. And I look at Lauren and this is a rental car. And I go, "Did you get insurance on this car?" And she was like, "Yeah, why?" And I was like,
Here
"I
comes.
break the window and tell them, and you tell them that we got robbed." She was like, "Sydney, don't do that." But I wanted to. If the pilot wasn't in charge, if I was in charge, I would have done that. But the pilot's in charge, so I'm going to do what she says. So, anyways, one of our coaches comes down from the mountain and brings a crowbar and gets the door open. And so we race up the mountain, and literally no warm up, no nothing. We just get straight out of the car and go to the line. And one, that's dangerous because, it's negative degree weather. So it's if you're going out and pushing 100%, you're probably going to blow a hammy. Two, this is the fastest track in the world with a very difficult curve. And if your pilot isn't focused, then you're in trouble. And so Lauren was freaking out the whole morning, and we're on this line, and I'm thinking, we're about to crash. Like, this is it.
Come on, man. They can't be saying that shit.
I didn't say it, but
Okay.
in my mind, I was like, this is it.
This
But
is how it ends.
it
This is
was
how I die.
it was disastrous, but we actually ended up doing really, really well. We didn't crash, which is a miracle, but it was just so disastrous. It was so terrible, but it's funny looking back now.
Dang.
Yeah.
What I keep coming back to when I look through your bio here is the willingness not to leave any stone unturned. You
Hmm.
don't want to have any regrets and look back and say, man, I wish I would have tried this or done this, or I wish I would have eaten the 5,400 calories. At least now you know, like
Hmm.
you were all in.
Hmm.
And the two things you list here for your mindset that helps you advance is God and relentlessness.
Yeah, God for sure because I'm very type A. I'm very competitive.
No shit.
I like having things a certain way. I'm
Yeah, I
very
got it.
detailed. And through that detail in my training in my everyday life, like that's all in effort to win an Olympic medal. So it's really difficult not to want to have control over everything and not to want to control the outcomes. And a few weeks before the Olympic trials, I was pretty anxiety ridden. Like the weight that was on me, I knew wasn't helping me anymore. I had trained so hard. I mean, any athlete on the Olympic stage will tell you this, but your dreams take you away from your family. You're not financially stable. You you don't do anything other than your sport. And I was having a lot of doubt and that led to a lot of anxiety and I just was holding so tightly onto this result. Like I just wanted to win so bad. But and I think that's really common for athletes just to want to be control freaks. And so God is super important to me in my athletic space just because you have to relinquish that control and you kind of have to let him hand over the victory. Like all you can do is plant the seed by doing everything that you possibly can, but then, calming your mind and your spirit and just letting him do the rest. And so without God, I would be very lost and I would not enjoy sports at all because the reality of it is you can do everything that you possibly can, but the outcome isn't up to you. And so if you don't find peace in that, then sports aren't going to be enjoyable anymore. But sports are a gift from him. They aren't meant to be anxiety ridden like it was for me a couple weeks before the Olympic trials. So I think he is just so important for athletes to know. Um, and then resilience because I mean, it's like I said, we aren't financially stable. And I say this cautiously because I do love representing my country very much. But because athletes are so resilient and so driven and hopeful and will make anything work in order to compete for this country, the entity itself kind of takes advantage of those things because they don't pay us. Like they ask for so much from us, like, "Hey, win us medals, bring them back to the homeland, pay for your own travel, pay for your own competition fees, all that fun stuff, but we're not gonna give you anything back." Like, they don't pay you. So, I think resilience in sports in any sense is extremely important, but especially when you get on the international stage, things aren't so easy anymore because you are not only trying to be an athlete, you're also trying to eat. And that's
Right.
really hard when you're not getting paid for your job. So, that's why I created Peerless because I wanted to make that go away for athletes. But yeah, you have to be resilient and you have to allow that to foster resourcefulness in you and drive. And that's what breaks most people is when they aren't resilient. So, yeah, those 2 things are by far, I think, one the most important factors in sports.
What percentage, if you can guess it, of you and your identity and ego is the reason why you push so hard to win? Or what percentage of it is to just simply glorify God and what He gave you?
Oh, that's such a hard question. Um, I'm competitive as shit. Like, like
No kidding.
I
Yeah,
do not like losing. I will lose sleep over losing. Um, and unfortunately, I am human and I do have an ego and I am competitive. So I don't think I could put an exact percentage on it, but unfortunately, like that is a component, right? I will not lie and tell you that there's not.
that's okay.
Um,
Just take a
yeah,
guesstimate on, if you could be self-reflective here.
yeah, yeah. So I'm definitely flawed in that way as a human. Like some of it is for me, and I don't think that's 100% bad. Like you have to do it for yourself, But if
God wants you to be successful. Nothing wrong with
yeah,
wanting to be successful.
absolutely, yeah.
I just want to hear what number you're going to say.
What number
Is
I'm
it
gonna
50-50? Is it 90-10? Is it 30-70?
I mean,
80-20? It's going to be a range.
yeah,
I'm not holding you to it.
I'm able to do what I do because of God, and so like I mean, obviously, like 100%, I trust him. I'm gonna love him no matter the outcome. And I'm grateful for the gifts he gave me. So 100% in that aspect. But unfortunately, like I am human and I am flawed, and
Okay.
I do want to win just for the sake of telling
Winning.
Germany to fuck off at the Olympics.
Right.
um, I don't know, probably we're gonna say 90-10. We'll say 90-10.
So 10% God.
No, no, 10% ego, 90% God.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just say that because even when I catch myself being a little fiery,
So careful with the words.
I
My goodness.
I do lead that back to my relationship with God. Even even Jesus flipped tables in the temple. You have to, go get get the goal like it's the only thing. So mm, yeah.
Is it possible that God's using this season of your life to build you for something you haven't seen yet or something down the road? Like, you never win
Mhm.
and you utilize that for something else. Is it possible that, hey, you could, pull up lame? You might just lose the calling, but hey, I don't feel like doing it anymore,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
It's for say these purpose that hasn't been revealed. You know, are you okay with him having you on a path that maybe you haven't recognized yet, or maybe it's not about you being on that podium? You know,
That's a tough
that
one.
that's a tough one, right?
It is. I mean, he just wants to know that you're gonna love him no matter what, no matter the result, right? So, um, that for me personally is really difficult. And I will, I will get over myself if I don't win. I will love him no matter what. But that is a very hard part of faith for me. But I do think that he's using this for something bigger for sure. Especially with, I started a nonprofit. I never thought I would start a nonprofit. And I have a very protective personality and I cannot stand watching. It's tough on Team USA because our teammates are our competition. We're fighting for resources. We're fighting for food on the table because what little funding Team USA does give us, we're competing amongst each other for that. And so it would be really easy for me to just fund myself, compete for myself, and, be number one. But I cannot stand watching my teammates live out of their cars. I can't stand watching them not be able to fly home to see their family because they can't afford a plane ticket. I just got off the phone with one of my teammates like 3 days ago, and he was like, "I think I'm gonna have to cancel the season. Like I can't afford it on Olympic year. Cancel the season on Olympic year because he can't afford it." That just I'm getting kind of hot thinking about it. Like that just makes me so mad. And so I think God is definitely using that. And I've had to be super resourceful in order to make this work financially, and I've built a lot of relationships, and built a big network throughout the years doing that, and I think that's definitely going to be used for something bigger beyond the podium.
Yeah, the struggle, one James, be thankful for the struggle, for it creates perseverance. And so now you're having to struggle in areas that might not seem fair, might not be fun, right?
Hmm.
And maybe you feel entitled, maybe you rightfully should be more entitled, maybe other athletes should too. But then you would not have the resilience of having to build the network. You wouldn't have created the resilience of having to have the foundation that you set up to help other athletes. Without having that pain, you wouldn't have had to adjust. And those components wouldn't be there, right? So there's tremendous things to be thankful for. I was listening to Sean Ryan's episode with Tim Tebow, and Tim is recounting the night when his Broncos beat the Steelers in the playoffs, and he's coming off, and one of his aides, or it was like it's like a GA but for the pros, and it was like his main guy that helped support him. And they're both, if you know Tim Tebow at all, very very faith oriented. And the kid comes off and says, "Hey man, do you know what happened? Tim, you realize what just happened?" He goes, "Yeah, we won. We won the game. We're going to the next round of the playoffs." He's like, "Tim, now you just don't know, do you?" So 3 years prior to the day, he had the 316 eye black on his face during a Florida game, and 90 million people Googled John 316, like, what is that? And on that day that he won that playoff game, all his stats were 316 related. He threw for 316 yards. His yards per catch was 31.6. So there's all these signs to that 316 reference. And Tim's like, oh man, I'm all focused on this extraneous outcome versus the journey and then the path that God had him on. So it humbled him in a way. And then he was thankful for all the other things that came from the humbling. So yeah, it's a very painful, unfair situation, obviously, for Sydney and all these other athletes. Well, what a great thing that when you're dead and gone and your foundation is still going. Or maybe you're done competing and the foundation is still going. So a lot of things that from my perspective, of course I'm 50 and when I'm competitive, like I would compete with my brothers on who ate dinner faster, right?
Hmm.
Seriously. But that's so awesome that you can take those challenges and then turn it around and make an impact. That's awesome. I bet everyone's really grateful for your efforts there.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Being an athlete is a very selfish pursuit. You must always pick yourself. Being a coach and a leader is a very selfless pursuit. It's the ultimate balancing act. Are you very coachable?
I do consider myself coachable. I don't think I've ever told a coach no.
Okay.
My coach tells me I need to gain 30 pounds in a quad. Well, guess what? I did it. Um,
Right?
like I I was coached by my dad, and I think that's where that comes from. And all of my coaches, besides my coaches at Iowa State, um, all of my other coaches have been father figures to me. Coach Williford when I was in high school, and then going to Alabama, Coach Wiley and Coach JD. And so I just trust them implicitly. There are very few people in this world who I would just blindly trust, but they are one of them. If they tell me to do something, I'm gonna do it.
Love it. You know, you're so relentless in so many areas. And one of the pieces I really was thrilled to see because no one had said this before. And it's a part where you wrote about and building your body. And, you said you designed a journal that had everything in it from recovery, training, nutrition, all the race day entries, the training. So the after action reports, if you had like a big battle or a debrief after a sales meeting, what were all the inputs leading up to game day? Well, and then how did game day go? What were the results? What were the lessons? And so the planner that I put out with my book crystallizes all this, and it looks like you came up with it well before I did. Talk to us about how you utilize that to stay focused, manufacture motivation, drive forward, break through plateaus. How essential was that for you?
It was so essential. I've been journaling since I was in high school. My dad journaled, so that's where I got the habit, I think. And I used to, as I've gotten older, there's just more and more components that you try to control. When I was in high school, like, yeah, I did extra push-ups and sit-ups at night and stuff like that, but I wasn't tracking what I ate. I wasn't really tracking how many hours of sleep I was getting. But, as I went through high school, went through college, and now I'm a pro, I control pretty much every single factor of my life. And so in my journal, I track what I eat, I track what I drink, I track pre and post training thoughts. My annual plan is in my journal. Um, j- I do a debrief at the end of the day. Like it has everything in it. And I, I'm probably a little bit too dependent on it to be honest, but it's never far away from me. Like it's literally sitting on my table right here. But it was so crucial for me because one, I take it with me everywhere I go. So I gave my coach full access to it. I was like, look at my journal, like keep me accountable. And every time I was like training or something, like sometimes I'd turn around and coach would be like looking at my journal and then like looking up at the weight that I was using and he'd be like, "Didn't you do this weight last week? It says right here in your journal." And I was like, "Ah shit." Like, yeah, I did.
right?
You'd go put 5 pounds on the bar. And especially when I was gaining weight, I really needed help in that department because it was, as we discussed earlier, just brutal. And I would score all of my meals. And he would look at my score at the end of the day and then he'd look at my weight and be like, "All right, we're on track," or "Hey, like you need to be just as disciplined about your food as you are your training if, the food score wasn't good." And I'm a far-sighted person. I like to look in the future and plan, and so we would sit down and do my annual plan together, and that would be in my journal, so I always knew just generally where I had been and what direction we were going with my training. And yeah, it was just so critical, especially leading up to the trials and everything. I did a lot of journaling before the trials and execution cues, just reinforcing positive thoughts, all of that stuff.
That's awesome. That's amazing. There's so many reasons why I love that. One, when you see a little win from day to day, that's for me what I tell people, that's how you create your own motivation. Because motivation is usually very fleeting and discipline takes over.
Hmm.
The motivation is kind of a fun feeling. And if I know every Monday is a lower body day and I'm going to lift and I'm going to do something kind of heavy, what most Mondays then I'm probably going to hit some kind of new PR. Or if I can do my accessories and hit a PR there, I said, well, if I can just get to the gym, I've PR'd like the last 38 out of 39 days in the gym in some capacity. And if I just do everything I did last time I was there and I improve the warm up a little bit, new PR. So I can tell people one, it's kind of a way you can manufacture some, temporary motivation. Two, our mantra is win the day with, athlete builder and, winning the Olympics, being on the podium, making the team even. For your quad, it's a lot of time for how long those races take? A minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 50 seconds. And then you have a number of runs and then it's over and then you got to play and go home.
Hmm.
Well, then the depression sits in and like, what feels good? What am I looking forward to next? And if you win the day, like that's a very extrinsic goal, which is awesome to have and a huge target. But if I'm trying to win and be the best version of myself daily, then the next day, like, hey, my goal is to get up, do some recovery. And if I do those things, I get some wins. I did what my targets were for the day. I can feel good about myself the day before, the day after big events. It's not just on game day, right? So it's also you're not going to feel that happy until 4 years later. Come on, man, that's not really that's sustainable. So if I can journal and see some wins, it helps feel a lot better.
Yeah.
The lady we just recorded with was Jen Floyd. She rode at Cornell for 1 year as a senior and was so good she was invited to the Olympic team. And 4.5 years later, she's rowing in the Olympics.
Hmm.
And she credited journaling all her wins, just like you do, to keep her moving forward, but also help have her be a little bit happy between now and 4 years later because man, that's a long time,
It
you know?
is. It is a long time. Um, yeah, I can completely agree with you. And there's, bobsled is very niche, so a lot of people don't know what it is. And when I get the question like, "What's bobsled?" I say like, "Have you ever seen Cool Runnings, the movie?" Um, and I don't know if you've seen it, Jim, but it's
Yeah, the Jamaican
the
team.
Jamaican bobsled team, and there's a great quote in it. And the coach says, "If you're not good enough without the medal, you're never going to be good enough with it." And so, yeah, I think there was a point in my athletic career where my worth was determined by wins. And, if I do go to the Olympics and do get medals and stuff like that, but we always have to remind ourselves, like, if you're not good enough without the win, you're never going to be good enough with it. So just my journal helps me find purpose and helps me kind of keep myself grounded and yeah, just like that previous athlete did, keep herself a little bit happy.
Yeah, yeah. Um, One of the last things I want to ask about the being a teammate is teamwork is one of our core values, and teammates to me is a huge thing, and a lot of people will sacrifice for the teammates versus themselves even. People will say like in the Marines or an Army platoon, you're fighting for the person next to you, right?
Yeah.
And so you'll sacrifice even more. And now you have a component where you're a teammate with the Navy SEAL Foundation.
Mhm.
And just talk about that role and the why behind it and the impact that you're looking to make it with those folks.
Yeah, I became an official teammate because right out of college, the job that I already had lined up, as I was being recruited to Team USA was, I was a strength coach for Virginia High Performance, which is a program funded through the Navy SEAL Foundation. And it's a multimodality program where operators come in and they go through this program and they have everything they need. They have their strength coaches, their dietitians, all their meals are made for them. They see doctors, they see mental performance coaches, they get massages, literally like everything. It's like an all-encompassing recovery program, and it's amazing. And I was a strength coach, and throughout my time being a strength coach there, I just developed such an amazing perspective. My dad was military, so I already had ties there in a way, but when you are because the strength coach is kind of these guys' like main vessel for, healing or progressing or anything because the strength coaches are with them twice a day throughout the entire 4 weeks that they're with us. And we learn a lot about each other. And throughout learning about this population and getting attached to them and kind of having like brother and father figures throughout this program, I went on tour on the World Cup tour with Team USA and I missed them. Like I missed coaching them. I missed hearing their stories and I almost like felt a little bit guilty because I wanted to take a lot of responsibility for their progress. And so I called Jeff, who oversees me through the Navy SEAL Foundation, and I was like, "Jeff, like, I want there to be a program where we bridge elite athletes and elite operators because we're experiencing a lot of the same things as far as identity, devotion to country, work ethic, like all of these things. And I think it would just be fantastic if we had more elite athletes going through this program with the operators and just connecting. And that's kind of how the official teammate program was born. And, I just had the idea. He did all the legwork. But now we we use our platforms to connect with these guys and with their families and we advocate for the Navy SEAL Foundation because, the operators can't do that. That's a very, sacred population there. And the Gold Star families, like a lot of times, they just don't have the reach or don't have the desire to reach because obviously they're not in an advantageous situation being a Gold Star family. And so our job as official teammates is just to make sure that they're seen, they're heard, and that they're being connected with. And so it's been a privilege to be able to do that because I'm not working at VHP anymore because I'm training full time for the Olympics, but I'm able to connect still and be involved in the community through this program. And it's just been a blessing, and I continue to see different perspectives and hear different stories all the time, and I definitely use that as a why on the ice as well. So it's been great.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I didn't meet Jeff at the New York City SEAL Swim, but I've come across him a number of times because been supporting it, registering for it in swimming, and for this entity, Athlete Builder, the Navy SEAL Foundation is our official philanthropy. So we do other philanthropic things. My gym does other things. Our breast cancer event is coming up next weekend, so it's a big deal.
Mhm.
But through Athlete Builder, the Navy SEAL Foundation is our number one priority. When you're lifting heavy, what do you want to listen to?
It really depends on the day. Sometimes
Okay,
sometimes I want to rage and sometimes I want to be at peace, it just kind of depends.
gotcha. What's a bucket list adventure? Not a career like building a training facility like you wrote there. This is a bucket list adventure where you're gonna go have fun, whether it's a friend of yours, whatever. Or it sounds like it's just gonna be you and your dad and everybody else can go away, but you know, it's an adventure that you and this other person, or by yourself, have never been to and experienced.
There's a lot of things that I haven't experienced. Shoot, I've been all around the world, so that's pretty cool. But I think probably just go on a vacation and do nothing. I've never done nothing before. Probably that. I couldn't tell you because I did in the form that you sent me. I wrote I want to build a training facility. That's on my bucket list. But if it can't be career oriented, then I suppose just go do nothing.
Hard to decompress, huh? I get it. People are driven. Uh, Favorite sports movie?
Secretariat for sure. I love that movie.
The second horse. I can't remember the name.
The horse that came in second to Secretariat,
Yeah.
Shaq.
So the prior two races, the Derby, the Preakness, Secretariat wins,
Mhm.
but it's pretty decently close,
Mhm.
right? And the horse that came in second would have the course record
Yeah.
at those two events. It was that good.
Mhm.
And Secretariat beat it.
Mhm.
And then the trainer decided to not hold the horse back that final 3 weeks going into the Belmont. And when it came time to game day, it was like 37 lengths. It was such a beatdown.
Mhm.
Like the horses really finally just unleashed what it had. It was so amazing to watch. Favorite sport to watch?
Favorite sport to watch. I forgot what I wrote down there, but I love to watch soccer. Sand volleyball is cool. I love spike ball. I don't even think that's an Olympic sport or anything, but spike ball.
That's a backyard. That's a drinking game, isn't it?
No, you have to be athletic to play spike ball.
Spike ball has that little like trampoline that's near the ground, and you have a little
Yeah.
foam ball. Okay,
I
People are tailgating and doing that. All right,
I rep French.
before football.
That is a fun sport.
And then favorite athlete to watch could be current, could be retired or dead.
My favorite athlete to watch is Mystique Rowe. She's on the Team USA skeleton, and she's just fucking fantastic. I love her to death as a person, but then she's also just a force to be reckoned with on the ice. I love when she steps on the ice.
Favorite book?
My favorite book is Red Rising.
What's that about?
Um, it's a 6-book series. There's one more coming out.
Oh boy.
Yeah, but what's it about? It's kind of like a post-war apocalyptic world where society has been broken into different colors, and each color has a designated job within society. And so, like, the reds are like the lowest of the low. They're in the mines. They're abused. They get the least resources, and then the golds are like your warriors and your politicians, and it's basically how like red rises up from within and destroys gold from the inside out, and
Oh
it's
geez.
pretty
Of course you like that series.
I do.
The underdog, the coming up, the grit, the hard journey, the unfairness,
Yep.
the beating everyone's ass.
Yep.
Who's your favorite superhero?
My
Could be a
favorite
real person though too.
my dad. My
I
dad.
knew it.
That's easy.
What about villain? Who's a good bad guy?
I would say, oh, I wrote something down. I forgot what I wrote down though. But I know it was the villain from Treasure Planet, the cartoon, the pirate. I think
John
he's
Silver?
yes, John Silver, and I love him because yes, he's a villain, but just like any villain, he's misunderstood. And he's kind of a mentor to the hero in the story. And I just love how he mentors this hero, and I actually use some of his philosophies in my everyday life.
Look,
So just love him.
John Silver, the cartoon, impacting Team USA. What's your what's your favorite lift in the weight room?
Back squat.
How come?
It's just it's gritty. It's a little bit scary, like your spinal loading, you gotta get low and that weight is crushing you from the get-go and if you don't get out of the hole, like it can be a little bit scary to bail. And I just love it. I think it's a fun lift. It's just fun to do. Makes me feel strong.
It's my favorite lift for the same reason. There's so much fear involved to keep adding more weight when you're doing it and you're maxing out. And every time you do a new max out, there's that fear again.
Mhm.
And so there's risk, right? There's
Yeah.
risk. And so it's rewarding that you've handled the fear and there's a tangible benefit and you can see, hey man, I won. I was afraid and I won, right? So I love that. Uh, what's your favorite quote?
My favorite quote, I forgot what I wrote down, but
It's okay.
I would say the one that's popping in my head right now is do not it's something like do not fear imagined troubles or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's huge. Most fears are just not even close to what reality is.
Mhm.
Where can people find you? Where can they find your nonprofit?
You can I haven't officially announced my nonprofit yet. It's still kind of in its baby phases. But we did just recently or I did just recently build a website for it and everything. So you can find that in it on my Instagram, in my link tree. Um, I'm pretty present on Instagram, so you can find me there a lot and find me on the ice and find me down here at Alabama.
Awesome. Awesome. And if those of you want to continue to reach out to us for our prior guests or questions for us so we can help you out, info at athlete-builder.com. Athlete-builder.com is also the site where you can get our book, our digital course, our planner, and check things out. We always want to make an impact and check out Unbreakable Athletics all through October and beyond. It's Breast Cancer Month, and some people in our gym are really impacted by it personally this year. So it hits home, and we're raising money for that as well. Sydney, awesome time having you on. Learned a lot. Had a lot of fun. You're a fun person to talk to. I love the honesty and how authentic you are, and I love the tenacity and the willingness to push and be all in. It's very attractive quality in people that they just go hard, and I love that. So, man, thanks for the gift of being here today and making an impact
No, thank you. I appreciate you thinking of me for the show.
for sure. Have a good one.
You too.